Hey, welcome to the Coffee with Creators podcast. My name is Rob Balasabas. Really excited to have you here. Excited for you to tune in to this conversation that I had with my good friend, Kat. And she's amazing. She's got a dream job here. She is the Adobe Express Evangelist. And so she gets to go around and tell people about Adobe Express, which is an amazing tool. I use it. I love using Adobe Express for all my graphic things. It's browser based. It's awesome. There's actually quite a number of videos here on my channel just sharing how to use Adobe Express, because there's actually a free version of Adobe Express. But you're going to hear about that here, some of that here in this interview today. But you're also going to meet Kat and her story and how she got to where she is today with Adobe Express, traveling all over the US, I believe all over the world, to different events and hosting and speaking. She's on the YouTube channel with Adobe Express, and she's been there for quite a number of years now, and she's super awesome. She's just so cool. She's based out of the Bay Area. She's got one of the most vibrant, just really happy looking Instagram feed here if you guys are watching this video version, and you'll see some of her personality really come across, which I love, on her Instagram feed, and you'll just see her stories. So make sure you follow her on there, because that's where you get the latest and coolest things that Kat is up to. All right, so make sure that you check those out. I'm really excited, like I said, for you to meet Kat. Before we jump in though, into the interview, I want to invite you to download this guide. I put together this guide. I get a lot of questions around how to build a membership. Hey Rob, I want to build something around my content, and I want to build a membership. I want to build a program. I want to help more people. And so memberships is really one of the best ways to do that, both with content, live and on demand, and also a community to really go deep, and of course at the same time build recurring revenue for yourself, for your business, for your content creator business. So download this guide. There's a link in the description and in the show notes. And also, one last thing before we jump into the interview, I want to thank our sponsor today, which is StreamYard. StreamYard, thank you. Love you guys. StreamYard is the best way to go live on any platform. You can live stream actually on multiple platforms at the same time. It's all browser based. I love using StreamYard. I've been using StreamYard for like 4 or 5 years, and it's just so awesome. They've got new features coming out all the time. It's super affordable, just the best investment for a content creator out there. And so you can even record your podcast episodes. You can record your YouTube videos that you upload later. There's just a ton of tools here that you can go and check out. All right, so that is StreamYard. That is the guide to building a membership. And so with the housekeeping out of the way, I hope you're doing well. Make sure you subscribe and like and all that stuff here. We are almost at 10,000 subscribers on this channel. I'm so excited to hit that milestone. And so I hope that you are part of that. And so make sure you do that. Share this video, this interview with other folks in the creator economy. And without further ado, meet my friend, Kat. Hey Kat, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Rob?
Very good, very good. Yeah, I'm glad that we finally got together and schedule synced up. And I know you're super busy, which we're going to learn all about the things that you're so busy with. But yeah, before we dive in, because you've got, I think I would say, probably one of the coolest jobs out here, working for Adobe, an evangelist. Mm-hmm. You're on the YouTube channel. You've got your own stuff going on. You're traveling around with Jordan and the rest of the Adobe Express crew. Just maybe like I start off, like how did you get into this video creative space in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually started when I was a sophomore in college, and I just needed a creative outlet. And at the time, it was like the golden age of YouTube. People doing like hauls and stuff like that. When the beauty and lifestyle was like at the top of YouTube, and everyone was still figuring it out. So I wanted to be one of those, and so I just started doing that in college, and I started learning how to use video editing tools, and then that. I was doing that for like pretty much a long time on the side. And then as I graduated from college, I started, going into the full-time workforce, kind of just working like office admin jobs, some marketing jobs here and there. I'm still doing YouTube and vlogging. I started blogging at one point on the side. And then eventually I had a really bad stroke of luck with locking down a job, and that's because I was like denying that I wanted to go into like the creative field, because I was just so scared of being like the quote unquote starving artist. So I just took a month break from full-time work, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna be a creative. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna call myself a content creator and see what happens. I did it for a month. I started, what's it called? Like, I really went in on my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and all that stuff, and really like shifted my mindset. I took on an unpaid internship doing social media for a local San Francisco shoe brand, just to like legitimize my skills and, you know, learn things from a more brand side, from a company side. And then after doing that for almost a year, I would say like a year and a couple months, I luckily found, worked with an influencer actually who was a designer for Adobe Spark, which was the
Oh,
very
okay.
first iteration of Adobe Express. And
Yep.
his old boss was looking for a social media manager, tagged me on a Facebook post, and then I submitted my resume, and then I got hired on as a part-time social media manager for Adobe, and that's how I got my foot in. Um,
Really?
so yeah.
Oh, okay. Just a tag on Facebook. That's
Yeah.
basically where everything started. Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, was it initially like the evangelist role, or were you doing something more creative, like hands-on, or?
Yeah, so I didn't start off as an evangelist right away. I've been at Adobe as a contractor for about 2.5 years, almost
Oh,
3
okay,
years
okay.
before I became an evangelist. So yeah, I was doing social media marketing or managing, for this old program called the Adobe Awards, which was like a student program, and like, you know, young designers and students entered from all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
to be named as Adobe's global top talent. But when the pandemic hit, we retired that program, and I just kind of became a community engagement specialist. So I was just putting on workshops with like mentors and veterans in the space to like teach students how to launch their careers.
Yep.
Um, and I was doing that for a while, and then eventually, um, I heard about Adobe Express, and that they were, or at the time it was Creative Cloud Express, and how they
Right.
were going to launch it, rebrand Spark, and all that stuff. And they basically found me as the target demographic, as someone who runs their own content, does not come from a design background at all, has no formal training,
Right.
someone who kind of creates for fun, just for the internet, and is also knowledgeable of the competitor landscape. And I do
Yeah.
have a lot of like blogger and creator friends and stuff, and they just thought, you know, this person could be like the voice of the people. So I helped with the research, the initial not initial research, but like, you know, putting my 2 cents and giving feedback right before the Adobe Express first launched. And then once the product actually launched, then that's when I became the evangelist.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think it's
Thank you.
the interaction. We talk a lot about Adobe Express on the channel, on the podcast, and I got to go to Adobe Max. I actually have my hoodie on today.
Yeah, your hoodie's there.
Yeah, and so rep the hoodie all the time in so many videos, and just interacting with the Adobe Express team, the Adobe team in general. I think is just an awesome crew, and everybody's so friendly and generous with their time and their knowledge, and so it's been awesome. You are also on the YouTube channel. If you guys are watching the video version of this, like, you're on the YouTube channel, and
Yes.
you guys crush it on this channel. It's like over 300,000 subs. And
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It
you're
grew
you're a
so
regular.
fast.
Yeah.
If you click on the live tab, you'll see more, because
Oh, there you go.
that's where all the live streams are. So
Yes, look at
we're
that.
posting every day. Yes.
Every day. Wow. Wow.
Almost, yeah, I think almost every day.
Pretty
I think
regularly, right?
they recently changed it so that actually Adobe Express streams will happen all day on Wednesdays. So we have a dedicated day,
Oh,
Wednesdays every week, Adobe Express.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Well, that must take a lot of planning, because I mean, I tuned into some of them, and they're not they're not like, free flow. They're like very in-depth tutorials that you do, and then you guys will chop it up into clips as well. But that must take a lot of planning, I imagine.
It does. Like in the very beginning, when I first started a little over a year ago, I would plan my streams down to like the word that I would say. Like, I would script out the entire show from start to finish because I was that
I believe
nervous
it.
about everything. And even every step, and I had, like, on my second monitor, I would have, like, step 1, step 2, step 3, like, even what the graphic will look like in process. Like, I was really thorough with it. But now, after a while, after many different demos, and a lot of them are pretty similar because Adobe Express is really easy after a while.
Yep.
Like, sometimes I just actually wing it.
Yeah. I
Like,
believe it.
like, I'll know the topic, I'll know the subject. Like, I
Yep.
have a masterclass tomorrow. I know the subject. Do I know what I'm making yet? No.
Yeah.
So now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I trust the process. It'll be fine. As long as I know where I'm landing, like the final thing, I'll be okay.
Yeah, that's a huge compliment. Actually, I agree with you because I do them as well on this channel, and just do tutorials on Adobe Express. And I'm like, I know what I want to show. I don't go through it and do a mock-up design or anything. It is a testament to the platform, just how easy it is to actually use. You can literally stream to a channel with over 300,000 people, and it's all good. It's all good. It'll work out. Okay, so let me ask you, what has been like, because you're a creator, but you also get to interact with a lot of creators and a lot of creatives all over the place. Like, I think I follow you on Instagram and I see all the stories. I'm like, oh, where is Katrina today? Oh, she's in Utah. Okay, cool. And she's like in, another place. And so you're all over the place. You get to meet a lot of creators. What do you think has been sort of the hardest part that you hear from creators about being a full-time creator, or trying to at least, sort of strive towards that professional creator lifestyle?
I think the most common thing that I hear when I talk to creatives, especially aspiring creatives, is just getting their work out there and seen. I think that's a really common theme because a lot of the times after these events, to me, like, an event is an event. I just showed you Adobe Express. That's the least I could do. But then once I hear the feedback and, like, when I get to connect with folks after the demo, people just say they are so grateful that Adobe came out here, especially if it's a small city. We've gone to a lot of smaller cities, and, like, those communities are the most grateful because not a lot of big things or, like, creator communities come out to those cities and spend time there. So, it's grateful, or everyone's so grateful that, like, they get the opportunity to meet someone from the Adobe team. And I just see everyone's, like, eyes light up. Everyone's connecting on LinkedIn. And I just see, like, the power of that I hold and the privilege I hold to be able to go out and meet these folks and see all their talent. And yeah, it means a lot to the community that Adobe does care and show, or, like, have a presence in these smaller communities. Because I feel like people just want their work to be seen and to be able to show what they can do and honestly build those connections. Because I feel like that was the hardest part, because I really empathize with that. It was really hard for me to get started in this space. So
Yeah. No, I think that's, outside of the platform and everything, I think community building is definitely one of the strong points with Adobe. Like, and it is kind of, it's pretty impressive that such a large company cares about, like you said, sort of like the small towns and, like, going to these smaller towns. You're not always just in New York or LA. Of course, you guys are there as well, but you're going to the smaller towns and really, investing in that time with those creators. So yeah, that's good. So to be seen, that makes a lot of sense. On the other side, what do you think is sort of the common thread amongst the successful creators in terms of, like, building a business around their content and, quitting their 9 to 5 and, if that's what their desire is? But what's the common thread that you've seen that's, like, when you talk, I'm like, for people? Yeah, I'm like, hey, you guys are all kind of doing the same, this one thing, kind of the same. Yeah.
Oh, hands down, I would say the networking. Like, I can tell when someone is really just starting out versus someone who's, like, like a seasoned creator. And the difference is, like, their networking skills, the questions they ask, but also, like, even the willingness to go out. And I feel like the pandemic really kind of like made everyone be like homebodies. Like I must admit, sometimes I don't like going outside, but like the folks that do make that extra effort to come out to these events, to connect after the event, to send me a DM, those are the folks that like I notice are way more serious and way more like advanced in their creator career, and are really cashing in on their passion and their skills, and just know what they're doing, and just realize that our connection is valuable. Maybe not right now, but down the road, if I have an opportunity, if they have an opportunity, like they know that it's this whole networking thing is an investment.
Yeah. So like even just coming out to the events, I guess, is like the first step, and like getting outside of that comfort zone of being at home, or like, Yeah.
Yeah. And I see this all the time. Like a lot of folks just stop themselves before they actually truly get started. Totally. I've talked to I've mentored so many like creators and students who want to get started and do all this thing, but they're all nervous about taking the first step and just doing it. We all get in, and I did this too for such a long time, of like just getting what's it called, getting way in my head about all this. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
I have friends over, and I think I locked them out of my apartment.
No worries. And we're back. Little pause. Cat had a visitor. It's all good. We're back. So you're saying, okay, so networking, getting out of your own way, out of your own head. What I mean, I see this as well. Like I go to a lot of conferences. Like, what is a couple good moves when you see you're like, oh, this guy or this girl is like a good networker. Like they know their way around a room. Like what are those like practices in actual?
I would say the first thing I notice is when I think first thing is eye contact. Okay, because I can tell right off the bat when someone's nervous, which is fine. I won't knock them for it. I get nervous too. Like I'm so awkward going up to people and just saying hi. Oh my gosh! Like I'm not an extrovert at all in that way. So don't worry. But like when someone just walks up to me and says hi, oh my gosh, you're Katrina, right? Like I'm so and so. Blah, blah, they shake my hand. They're looking at me the whole time and just being like present in that moment, and introducing themselves and stuff like that. Like I think that's like a really good first impression. The second thing I would say is another skill that I really admire with folks is folks who are like naturally curious. So
that's good.
So I can notice in a conversation if it's going to be one-sided or not. Like if someone this is gonna sound really bad, but like I can tell when someone is really just cares about themselves. Yeah. And like if they just keep talking about themselves and their work, like I get it, like we're networking, your job, you want to pitch your work, you're proud of your work, you want to talk about it, but at the same time balance that out and be curious about the other person too, and ask about their work. Because I've been in a lot of conversations where folks we just keep talking about that other person's work, and which is fine. That's fine, but it's nice to have that balance between learning about each other. It just feels more like a conversation.
Yeah. Just ask questions, right? About them and like what they do. Yeah, it's so true. I do see that a lot. Yeah, people are so excited because they're like, I'm here for 2 days, or I'm here for like this one evening. I want to pitch. It's just
Yeah, and I think also, don't quote me on the scientific results of this, but I've heard or I've learned that if the more you ask questions about another person, the more they'll like you.
I
believe
that.
I don't know.
I believe that.
I don't know where I heard that from, but I've just ever since I heard that I was like, wow, I want to be liked.
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing that. So now I just like ask more questions and be more curious about other people than be interested in just sharing about what I do. So
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard that somewhere. It's like, people can just have a whole conversation where you ask questions and then they feel like you really care so much. But it's like,
yes,
I didn't do anything. I just asked you a bunch of questions about things that I actually care about, not just small talk. But yeah, that's really good. Okay, so I was going to ask you what you wish more creatives and creators like, what skill they had, but I'm assuming it's the networking skill. Is there anything else that you wish like creators that are, again, striving to become full-time professional creatives, run their own agencies, perhaps. What other skills are out there that's kind of lacking? Whether it's caused by the pandemic or just habits or just naturally? Like, what do you wish, man? I wish these guys knew how to do this thing.
Yeah, so I think besides the interpersonal skills, I also think the way that you present your work is really important. So whether in the portfolio or the media kit or however you show off your work, even on your social media profiles, I think is also a skill that needs to be learned, because anyone can just like post anything and whatever, you know. But like if I noticed that like some creators are really good at making case studies. So like they'll, yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with. I'm not in the design world, but I've seen a lot of designers like make whole case studies with like their design process and stuff like that. So like even like how creators like present their videos like from start to finish, or showing a process, or even just doing like, you know, some people post like the final video on social and then maybe the next video will be like a behind the scenes, or maybe, you know, something like that. Like just like positioning your work in a very strategic way to like show who you are as a creator, I think is a skill in itself. Because at the end of the day, like whether you're booking clients or brand deals or anything, it all comes down to like the portfolio work, you know.
Right.
So yeah, and I personally did not like, I would like to say that I didn't have that much of a strong portfolio except for like the work that I've done, but I like to think that the way I positioned all my use cases with the internship that I was at, and even like my own personal thing, is really how I got that job at Adobe. Because like I said, I didn't go to school for this at all. I didn't do anything. Like it was just a mix of my interpersonal skills, but also the experience and how I framed that experience and why I would be a good candidate for the job. So
I love it. I love that. That's actually really important to share. That you didn't really. It's really hard. Like it's like what have you done lately? What have you done last is sort of more important, I think, in this space, rather than like what degree do you have, or you know, a lot. Yeah. So that's great. Okay. I know our time is running up. I want to ask you, because you to me seem like a very super productive person. Like you're just like, you're traveling, you're doing workshops. You don't just show up to these workshops. I mean, there's people here that are like, you know, you're preparing beforehand, and then on top of that, you have your own content. You have like, you stream on Twitch, like, you know, all of these things. How do you balance all of that? How do you balance everything?
Oh, it's a very delicate process. If something runs over, the whole thing falls apart.
Really?
Kind of. Honestly, like I'm pretty busy. Like besides the things that like you described, I don't know if folks know this. Okay, this is an exclusive for the podcast, I guess. But I also, like you mentioned, I game on Twitch.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the Grand Theft Auto roleplay community, and I actually run a whole like 5M, like a modded server with a couple other people. And that is a job in itself, because I am the event planner for that.
Oh my gosh.
So I plan like in-city like online events and stuff like that, or contests, and like even the social content for this to promote the server and also make their TikTok. So I have a whole other life outside of Adobe and my content.
I did my research. I tried to do my research. I never came across that bit, but okay, so that's even more. Okay.
Yeah, so it's even I really do keep that part separate. That's for the degenerate side. No, but yeah, it is a balance, and I think at the end of the day, it comes down to prioritization. So like I prioritize definitely by deadlines. So whatever comes first takes priority. Yeah. And then the second thing is taking it honestly day by day. That's how I stay sane. Yeah. Because if I'm thinking about a project that's like 2 months from now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to like do all this, it's gonna drive me insane. So like I try to stay grounded and, you know, alleviate a lot of that anxiety of like the future just by taking things and tasks day by day. Yeah. And just trying to knock out small tasks when I can, because yeah, I just know that if I just think too far ahead into the future, I will get really wrapped up in it. So
and burn out and get really overwhelming. Yeah, it seems like it's like a good balance of work, but it's also work that's like kind of blurry, where the line is like, is it work or is it play? I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm kind of like that. I'm like, my work is fun, you know? It's not like a typical job, I guess you would say. Like this industry is pretty fun, and there's travel and there's like cool people. Do you ever feel like, have you ever like felt like overwhelmed or burnt out or like kind of sensed it? And I'm just kind of curious how you deal with that if and when that happens.
Yeah, it has happened a couple of times, and I think probably the worst of it would have just been me like stopping making content altogether. There was like maybe like 1 or 2 periods where I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. But like but it hasn't happened recently, because even though the lines are blurred, like I guess I'm a workaholic, but like honestly, I personally, that's why I like evangelism, because like you're right, the lines are blurred. On my spare time, I like making content. Like I just had vacation. I just got back from DC, and I was making a lot of content. I filmed so many videos, took a lot of photos for my Instagram and stuff, and oddly enough, I'm going to use those videos and assets for future Adobe Express demos. So like, yeah, technically the content was for fun, for my own personal stories and stuff, but it's like, it's great because I can also use it for work.
Right.
So the lines do get blurred, and sometimes it does feel like work nonstop, but I would say that's really only, I only feel that like maybe like 10% of the time. Like if it's like a launch coming up and I have to do like, I promised the team like 20 videos. Okay, yeah, that'll feel like work. But if I'm just making things whenever things come, and then like, I post it on my own time whenever I want, I don't really feel like that it's work, because I don't know. I like it so much, and I feel like this job's really aligned with what I like to do. So yeah.
And that's the goal, right? It's like, what's it saying? Like, if you enjoy it, it doesn't really feel like work, but it also can backfire. It's like double-edged sword, That's like,
exactly. It really
I never feel like
working. It really depends on how you look at it that day.
Yeah, exactly. Day by day. I like that. I like that advice. Okay, as we wrap up, of course, Adobe Express, but what are some other go-to tools? Our community here loves, like, little hacks and software and like, just discovering new tools. What's some go-to tools that you just use on a daily basis? Like whether it's for creating content or, I mean, of course, Adobe Express, but like, for social or anything else, productivity.
Yeah, okay. I would say my top tools that I'm using right now is Lightroom. Yes. So it's completely free. For those who don't know, Lightroom Mobile, it is an Adobe tool. I've been using it since before everything, all Adobe. It's my very first Adobe tool, and I use it to actually store my photos and edit photos for like Instagram and stuff like that. Because I cheap out on my iPhone storage. I only get 256 gigs, and it runs out really quickly. So I have like the 1 or 2 terabyte plan for Lightroom. So that's where I store. It just comes in clutch with storing photos, making quick edits, sending them out and stuff like that, putting them on different things. Like sometimes Lightroom also has integration with like Photoshop or Adobe Express, if you use it in that way. So definitely number 1, Lightroom. The second tool that I use, this is actually pretty recent, but like Apple Notes, if you're yes, if you have iPhone, because I don't know, I've just been using it to make to-do lists and like tables and stuff like that. And it like, I used to be on Notion a lot, but then it was just like another app to open. I also used Evernote. Like they're cool, they're fine, but like Apple Notes it's just super easy to just open up. It's already on my home screen. I just type in whatever notes. I'll even store my headshots on there. Like I'll have a note that has headshots and different variations of my bio, and I'll just copy, paste, send. Like it's
nice.
it's just super easy to do. Like I have my grocery lists on there. I have like different calendars on there and stuff like that. Like Apple Notes has come a really far way, and I'm an Apple girl. Yep. And so I have my MacBook and I have my iPad, and it just syncs across all 3, and it's great. And you can collaborate with other people, so like you can send it via messages to another iPhone user, and like you guys can collaborate on a note. And it's like it's just been great.
I love that. I love that. Just on that too, like I like Notes as well. I'm an Apple. I love Apple everything, and I use it for workflows. So like, if like, hey, how would you like, like for example, right now I'm talking to one of the team members about a podcast, and like, hey, here's how we should like originally record the podcast, then repurpose it and like put it here and here and here. It's just super easy to draw with Apple Notes. Anyways, love that. Okay, perfect. Okay, before we run, any parting words for our community? creators, creatives out there listening and tuning in?
Parting words. Oh man, such a loaded question. Okay,
I know it is. Any
honestly,
advice?
Any advice? Last parting advice. Honestly, like if you, especially, okay, I mostly talk to aspiring creators and students and stuff, right? So this might be more relevant for them, but honestly, like if you want to get into the creative space, you want to become a content creator, a designer, get into any creative field, or even work for a company and like their creative team or their community team, honestly, just go for it. Because like that was like really the main thing that I did, and how I made it happen for me was that I just did it. I was the most underqualified person for this job, but I believed in myself and I believed in my work, and that I could be the person for the job so much, and I wanted it so much, visualized it in my head, that I just like went for it, and I ever since then, all the decisions I made, all of the all of the content I started creating, like really just envisioning myself as already a content creator, like that really was the game changer for me in my career, and what really made all the difference. So if you're unsure about it, stop being unsure about it. Stop calling yourself an aspiring creative. Stop calling yourself like, oh, I want to do this, I plan on doing that. No, you're doing this, you are doing it, you are a creator, you're already there. Just switch that mindset, and you'll really see the difference in your career trajectory.
I love that. So inspiring and so encouraging, and it's just a real joy to kind of watch your career grow. And where's the best place to connect with you, to follow you along, for all the folks that have tuned in?
Yeah, I'd say the best place is my Instagram. So just at Katrina Torrijos, it is my first and last name. So on there, I'm also on every single social media too. So I would say Instagram is the best place. DMs are always open. So if you have any questions, if you're listening to this, feel free to reach out on there. And then I guess Threads and like Twitter too. I'm also on YouTube and on Twitch and all this stuff. Literally, if you just Google me, it'll
have everything.
I'm not safe on there. You'll find everything on me.
It's just all there. Awesome. Well, Katrina, thank you so much for your time. Been a real pleasure hanging out with you. And hopefully we'll see you at one of these events in the coming months.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
Awesome.